What's going on, guys? This is DropThisBox, and I hope all of you guys are having a fantastic day today. And today I want to talk about the second game within the Kid Icarus series. And keep in mind, there is only 3 games in this series. I really wish there was more games. Hopefully we get another one in the future. Who knows what Nintendo wants to do. But today I want to give my thoughts on Kid Icarus of Myth and Monsters, because just to give you guys a little insight when it comes to my overall relationship with this game, this was a game that I did discover after I played the first Kid Icarus game, because when I first found out about Kid Icarus, thanks to Super Smash Bros. Brawl, shout out to Super Smash Bros. Brawl, I thought there was only one game in the series and Smash just wanted to bring Pit back because it was a very nostalgic game that came out on the NES. But there actually was a follow-up that actually happened to be on the Game Boy, and I ended up playing that game after I played Kid Icarus, and it was actually a really fun game. So like I said within this video, I just want to give my overall thoughts when it comes to how I personally feel about this game. So if you guys have any thoughts of your own that you guys want to share with me when it comes to your own thoughts on Kid Icarus of Myth and Monsters, be sure to let me know down below, and as always, we can talk about it. So when I first played A Myth and Monsters, I wasn't entirely sure what to expect, because coming from the original Kid Icarus on the NES, I had some idea of the gameplay and style, but the Game Boy format gave it a different feel right away. The moment the opening screen came up, I could tell that this was going to be something special. The music drew me in, and seeing Pit rendered in a slightly more refined style made me excited to jump in. I remember being curious about how well the sequel would hold up to the first game, and honestly, it didn't take long for me to be impressed. Right from the start, the controls felt tighter and smoother than I remembered from the original. Moving Pit around felt natural, and the vertical scrolling levels were easier to manage. It didn't have that overwhelming difficulty spike I associated with the original game. Instead, the challenge felt steady and fair, which made it more enjoyable for me to keep going. It's one of those games where you can tell the developers learned a lot from the first title. I also remember being struck by how well it worked on the Game Boy considering the hardware limitations of Myth and Monsters, and it looked and played beautifully. The screen wasn't cluttered and the visuals were crisp, which made it more easier to follow up the action compared to some other Game Boy games I'd played. That balance between simplicity and detail left a strong impression on me. And those early moments with the game are what really set it apart from the original. It felt like a sequel that understood what worked and what didn't, and focused on making everything better. Even as someone who enjoyed the NES game, I could tell this was going to be a step forward for the series. And one thing that immediately stood out to me while playing A Myth and Monsters was how much more refined the gameplay felt compared to the original. The platforming was still challenging, but it wasn't frustrating. I wasn't constantly feeling like a single mistake would set me back too far. Instead, the game seemed to give me room to explore and get better at navigating its levels, which made it more rewarding overall. Pacing also felt much smoother, because in the original, the constant vertical climbing could get a little repetitive, but this time around, the levels seemed to flow more naturally. And I remember enjoying the variety in the environments when it came to the skies, to the underworld, and how they gave the game a fresh energy. It felt like every new level was an adventure, and I loved that about it. Combat also felt like it had been tweaked for the better. The enemy placement seemed more deliberate, which made the encounters feel less chaotic and more strategic. I especially appreciated how the difficulty ramped up a manageable pace, because I didn't feel overwhelmed, but I still felt challenged, which is exactly what I look forward to in a game like this. A Myth and Monsters really nailed that sweet spot where the gameplay felt accessible but still satisfying. It's the kind of game that's easy to pick up but hard to put down, and that's what kept me hooked. The art really blew me away when I first played it. Even though it was on the Game Boy, the environments were so detailed and imaginative that I felt like I was exploring a whole new world. Level designs felt more alive than in the original, and each area having its own unique atmosphere, whether it was the eerie vibe of the underworld or the bright open skies. Every location felt distinct and exciting. Pit's sprite 2 looked better than ever. He was more expressive and easier to see. which made a big difference on such a small screen. The enemies also had a lot of personality, and I remember being particularly impressed by how creative some of the designs were. The bosses especially stood out because they felt larger than life, even on that tiny screen, and they added so much to the game's overall appeal. Then there's the music. The soundtrack is something I still think about because it was so catchy and memorable. The themes perfectly matched the mood of each level, whether it was an adventurous tune that made me feel like a hero or something more intense during the tougher stages. It's just amazing how much emotion they packed into such simple compositions. And for me, the art and music weren't just there to complement the gameplay, they were a huge part of why I kept playing. They made the world of Myth and Monsters feel alive, and that's what truly set it apart from the original. And as much as I enjoyed the original Kid Icarus, I honestly feel like Of Myth and Monsters outshines it in a lot of ways. It's not just about the gameplay improvements or the better visuals, it's the way everything comes together so seamlessly. This game feels like it knows exactly what it wants to be, and it delivers that experience without trying too hard to be something it's not. For one, the difficulty balance made a huge difference for me because the original was notorious for being punishing, but Of Myth and Monsters felt fair while still being challenging. It gave me the sense of accomplishment I wanted without making me want to throw my Game Boy across the room. That balance made the whole experience more enjoyable. I also feel like the Game Boy format worked in the game's favor because it gave the developers a chance to strip away unnecessary elements and focus on what really mattered: tight gameplay, engaging levels, and a strong sense of progression. It felt more streamlined than the original, which sometimes had moments that dragged or felt overly complicated. And at the end of the day, A Myth and Monsters feels like the kind of sequel that doesn't just ride on the success of its predecessor, it builds on the original while fixing its flaws. And that's what makes it stand out for me. It's a game I can always go back to and enjoy, and that's why I think it might just be better than the original. So overall, those are all my thoughts on Kid Icarus: A Myth and Monsters. I'm just really glad that I had the opportunity today to share my own thoughts when it comes to this game, because I always look forward to going back in time and just talking about my overall experiences when it comes to all of these different kinds of games that I played throughout my life, especially when it comes to series that I hold close and dear to my heart, because Kid Icarus is definitely one of those series. Sure, it doesn't get as much attention as I want it to nowadays, but it's still a very fun franchise that I absolutely love talking about, and I absolutely love playing these games whenever I get that opportunity. So it was nice for me to share my own thoughts when it comes to this game, when it comes to how I personally feel about it. And I'm glad I was able to play this game, like I said, so I was able to go through it and take all the things that I loved about it and talk about it throughout this video, and just look back at the original, be like, you know what, it took a lot of things from the original and just capitalized on it and just made it a better game overall. Not saying that the OG game was bad, because it wasn't by any means. It was a great game and I had loads of fun with it, but I can definitely see how they did a lot of improvements from the original to make this game stand out on its own 2 feet. And I'm not entirely sure if there's like a lot of people out there that actually had the opportunity to play this game, because I'm not entirely sure on the top of my head if there's a lot of people out here that know this game exists. But if you guys do, I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys had a fun time with the game just like me, if you guys happen to be really big fans of Kid Icarus as well. But if you guys have any thoughts of your own when it comes to Kid Icarus: A Myth and Monsters, like if you guys want to let me know your own personal thoughts when it comes to this game, like your favorite level, your favorite character, your favorite soundtrack, your favorite moment, your favorite boss, anything that comes to mind that you guys want to share with me when it comes to this game, be sure to let me know down below, because I would absolutely love to hear your overall thoughts when it comes to this game. And if you guys enjoy the video, as always, be sure to like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. If you guys want to follow me on my social media, be sure to check out my Twitter, my Instagram, my TikTok, and my Facebook. All the links to that are located in the description below when it comes to my social media. I'm usually active on Twitter the most, so be sure to follow me on there. And be sure to click on that bell for notifications so you guys are notified whenever I drop a video on the channel. And I also want to take some time to thank you guys for helping me reach 700 subscribers. I wouldn't be able to reach this goal if it wasn't for you guys, so thank you guys for all the support. I love you guys so much, and I thank you guys for everything when it comes to all of the amazing things you guys do. And I hope all of you guys are having a fantastic day, wherever the day may be, if it's the daytime, the nighttime, or the evening. And I'll see you guys in the next video. As always, peace out.